Prominent residents and industries in the western suburbs have been provided with a convenient service to the city, and numerous requests for lines on the south side of the river were made. The main objective was to connect the railway to deeper, more navigable water, and to provide an outlet for the coal mines of the West Moreton area near Ipswich, and also to allow steamships to load coal in Brisbane. Some of the many proposals included a line running via North Quay beneath the Victoria Bridge and into Queen's Wharf, with an extension running through the Botanic Gardens to the Port Office. Another proposal to gain access to the river was a line down alongside Ann Street, terminating at Petrie's Bight. Another plan saw proposals for a railway from Newstead to Roma Street and another line to the Lower River Terrace via Woolloongabba. The Newstead branch was favoured for coal traffic, as it was shorter than building a line to South Brisbane and would avoid land resumptions that were required to bring the railway to the Newstead wharves. This scheme, however, was the first to be ruled out due to issues with ships needing to change berths over such a distance without ballast. The line through the Botanic Gardens to the Port Office was the next to be rejected, even though it could provide Brisbane with a station more convenient to the CBD. The cost of constructing the line from Ipswich had caused considerable hostility between the government and country residents of the colony, who did not benefit from this extravagant expenditure, and to avoid political embarrassment, a line to Woolloongabba in South Brisbane was chosen. In October of 1880, two separate railway proposals were presented to Parliament: the line to Sandgate in Brisbane's northern suburbs, and the line to South Brisbane via Woolloongabba. After much political debate, construction of the route to Woolloongabba commenced in October 1882. The earthworks for the South Brisbane line branched off the Western line at what is now known as Corinda. At a high level, the embankment continued across Oxley Creek and through what is now known as Urongpilly, running alongside Fairfield Road through to Cemetery Hill, now known as Dutton Park. To keep costs low through minimal earthwork, the ruling gradient was 1 in 30. At Cemetery Hill, however, a significant cutting was required so the line could run alongside Ipswich Road where no further earthworks were required. A right-hand curve took the line over the road where it turned towards the water reserve at Woolloongabba. The most costly constructions were the tunnel under Vulture Street and the Oxley Creek Bridge. The tunnel at Woolloongabba was lengthened a few feet from its original design to avoid intruding on a property above, as this was cheaper than compensating the owner. The tunnel was completed in November 1883, after a majority of the line had already been constructed. The Urongpilly Divisional Board raised concerns about the narrowing of the already busy Fairfield Road and requested that it be restored to its original width, while the Woolloongabba Divisional Board protested about trains running down the middle of Ipswich Road in peak hour. It was decided that a deviation from the original plan had to be built between South Brisbane Street, later renamed to Burke Street, and Woolloongabba. Constructed to the west of Ipswich Road, the line then crossed at an odd angle, where it connected with the original line which curved into the Woolloongabba Reserve. The redesign and political debate combined with a sluggish contractor saw the railway open 2.5 years late. The construction of the line had now become so expensive that the government had paid for a light railway with sharp curves and steep grades at almost the same price as it would have paid had it constructed a high standard line. Just as the construction of the line to Woolloongabba was nearing completion, the contract was let for the building of the wharves and passenger station at Stanley Street. A bar of rock in the river threatened to prevent proper use of the two 10-ton steam cranes erected on the wharf, and construction was delayed while it was removed. Obtaining timber also delayed the project, as it was being shipped from Sydney and Maryborough. The due date for completion was November 1, 1883, and this delay pushed the opening back by 6 months. Complete with a tunnel, a wharf with a 15-ton steam crane, and a station and booking office at Stanley Street overlooking the dry dock, the South Brisbane branch opened on June 2, 1884. Gabba. The suburb is home to the famous Gabba Cricket Ground. From 1895, this stadium has been host to numerous international games. One of the more well-known tales of the Gabba branch is of test match listeners throughout the world hearing blasts of the whistles from trains passing over the crossings behind the ABC commentary. The name Woolloongabba is an Aboriginal word meaning place of the wallaby. Strangely, Woolloongabba was built by the railways with one L. This was maintained throughout the duration of the line's existence, even though the name is spelt with two L's by everyone else. An eyesore to anyone else, the Woolloongabba Loco Depot and Goods Yard was one of the most fascinating places a rail fan could find in Australia. The yards were modest, but an array of locomotives and wagons could be readily seen on any given day. After a long day running trains around the south side, most locos returned here to be stabled overnight. Like Albert, Woolloongabba had a passenger station until 1891. Few details are known about the station here, although it's suspected it was made to a standard design adopted throughout the state. Until 1891, the Gabba provided all of the Southside network with its locos and carriages and maintained them. A loco shed housed the engines while they were under repair or overhaul, and on the Stanley Street side, a goods shed was provided for protection from the weather while trains were loaded or unloaded. To service the engines, the Gabba was equipped with a machine shop, a washout shed, a water softening plant, a blacksmith, and engine sheds. Several pits enabled the fitters and turners to access the underbody of the locomotives, while two water tanks enabled the tenders to be refilled. Lighting up any dead engines began around midnight, the majority of the engines being PB15s and B15s. A raised coal stage was opened in 1913, where a hand-operated skip was used to reload the tenders with coal for the locomotive's next run. And in 1921, one of the rarest of any railway constructions in the world was built, opposite the police station on Main Street. The raised turntable was built to provide a loco turning facility, due mainly to the lack of space required for the usually cheaper option of a fork line. The turntable was powered by air supplied from the locomotive's brake pipe. A timber yard belonging to Lays Limited, the same company which also operated the Canungra Tramway, was built alongside Main Street. Although this was known as the Woolloongabba branch, the line never actually terminated here, and right from its opening continued another kilometre or so to South Brisbane. A series of S-bends took the line to the north, and a tunnel pierced the ridge above the Brisbane River. On the other side of the tunnel, a dramatic view of Brisbane unfolded as the line reached the main reason it was constructed, the Woolloongabba Wharf. Shunting engines and coal wagons from the West Moreton coalfields could be seen amongst numerous sidings and diamond crossings where a travelling crane dominated the view. Later, in 1970, and the 85-year-old loco sheds were demolished a short time after, along with any other remnant of the rail era. In 1973, the coal wharf was demolished and construction commenced on the South East Freeway, which went straight through the western end of the land where the Gabba yards had been. For many years, the area that was once the Gabba yards was left vacant. until the state government printers moved into one of the blocks. It is not known what happened to any of the station buildings, although there is a slight chance that one of them was moved to Boggo Junction, later renamed Dunton Park. The other two may have simply been demolished or dismantled and reconstructed in other locations throughout the state, as was common practice. The track bed at Stanley Street remained for a long time. The two tracks were retained as overflow space for the gather and the wharf. Even in 1960, the rails were still intact, and the ARHS and the Australian Model Railway Association ran a combined railcar tour. This was the last train ever to run to Stanley Street. All of the industry that was in the riverbank area along the South Brisbane Wharf extension was removed throughout the late 1960s in an attempt to clean up the image of South Brisbane. The state government purchased the land, and for many years part of it was used for the annual Arana Festival and other public events. In 1986, the entire area was cleared once again, removing all but 3 heritage buildings, and for the next 2 years, passengers travelling between Vulture Street and South Brisbane were able to see the construction work taking place for World Expo 88. Expo 88 was a tremendous success, showcasing Brisbane to the world. Amongst a multitude of other attractions, Expo had its own monorail system, which attracted the attention of many rail fans. Once the 6-month Expo had ended, the land was again cleared and all but 3 historical buildings remained until 1992 when the South Bank Parklands opened. Today,